And welcome to another video. Today we're taking a look at an unlimited ShadowCraft deck that is a little different to most unlimited ShadowCraft decks. This deck, while it has some of its mid-range counterpart options, it's much more focused around necromancy, which is interesting. I haven't really played a necromancy shadow deck probably in a very long time. It does have a lot of amulet options. Of course, you usually only want one. You either want burial grounds on the board or you want glooming tombs on the board. I very rarely would ever want both, as it takes up too much board space, and that's really not a good thing. It also does take a nice advantage of Yurd to really take advantage of last word effects, things like Lurching Corpse and Corpse Lord of Woe. I do want to run another Corpse Lord of Woe. Unfortunately, I do only have one. Running two in this deck would definitely help improve it, so I would definitely recommend that if you've got it. But overall, you can really just use the Demon Lord and the Grimoire to take advantage of the board state that you've got and really push for victory that way. I actually found this deck to be a lot of fun and really strong for what it was. I was expecting it to be very mediocre as a deck, but playing it on ladder does seem to do quite well, so we're going to get right into this and check it out. Okay, kicking us off, we're going up against Rune. Rune in Unlimited is typically going to be a Dari variant of Rune, since that is one of the better variants overall, so that's what I'm expecting to see. But we're just really kind of getting started with the deck, trying it out and seeing where it goes. This hand's a little rough. Glooming Tombs is okay, I think. That's why I decided to keep one. Unfortunately, we drew another Glooming Tombs again, so definitely clunked our hand up quite a bit, which is not what we want when we're, of course, playing this deck. You don't want a clunky hand. At least we do have a turn 2, turn 3, and kind of turn 4 play with Soul Hunt, so definitely got the options. And it is pretty nice. It does grant us a lot of shadows to work with, which is always a good thing. We can take advantage of a lot of effects that I wouldn't normally when it comes to necromancy. I wouldn't focus on those because, of course, I want to hold them for things like Demon Lord, but in this deck, usually not an issue. So the Lurching Corpse and the trade. We're already at 5 shadows on turn 4. Really nice, without too much of a loss. The Magic Owl play, not a concern really at all for me. And another Lurching, so this is actually going wide pretty quickly, and we actually reached turn 5 surprisingly fast, since there wasn't a lot of early play for either player, so there wasn't a lot of thinking or trading going on. They definitely made a good play though. They were able to wipe that out pretty easily. Unfortunately for them, I do have Yurd, so they're going to lose one of these. And optimally it would have been Owl. Unfortunately it wasn't, so now I have to trade my Yurd into it, and that's going to be a little disadvantageous. At least we do have the, of course, double Lurching Corpse still, which does put them in a rough spot as far as removal goes, since, of course, they don't want to lose too much here. Ideally they should just take them out wherever they can, because leaving the Lurching Corpses up like this could be really dangerous. But they did decide to leave them up completely, which does set up a nice Demon Lord for me, getting 6 damage in, and probably just removing the Owl and the Solomon through Evo effects, since we're not actually too worried about our Evos in this one. There are not a lot of things you want to force Evo out on, so I can usually just use it as a nice removal option. So we're at 14 shadows already. Wizard of Mysteria, interesting. This is not your typical Rune Daria deck sort of thing. Usually you don't see things like that. So we could have a very nice game here with this Grimoire. We're going to get the full Evos, as we've still got the, of course, Lurching Corpses as our removal option, and now we have some extra draw power as well, so we've pretty much covered all our major bases. Especially when they're only on 5 health, they really don't have a lot of options to go with. So not a surprise they did concede. And for our next game, we are playing against Forest.
Let me take you to the underworld. Time for me to prove myself.
So kicking things off, that's not too bad. Necro Assassin, Demon Eater, Zombie Party, but they're not really early enough to deal with Forest. That was really the only disappointing part about that. While I did like most of those cards, they just aren't quick enough. I needed to aim for some of my lower drops, get them in early, since I know Forest is going to be pushing me pretty aggressively. Fortunately, Skull Beast, a pretty decent draw off the top there. Genesis of Legend. They really couldn't have asked for a much better card there, actually, so I'm a little disappointed. So now if they played this smart, they would straight up aim to remove Lurching Corpse before they played anything, and unfortunately they didn't do that, so it's definitely going to put them on the back burner here. I do have Soul Hunt, which does let me remove the 1-3 now. I do have to leave up the 1-4 though, and that's not a good thing. When you get the end of turn effects and they can start raising their health a lot, it's going to be a problem long term. Luckily for us at least, Necro Assassin is going to let us pretty much wipe this now. No matter which way these hit, it was nearly a guaranteed wipe. The only issue would have been if we didn't clear the 1-6. Fortunately though, since the odds were in our favour to get rid of that. Sylvian Justice, not a problem. And a single fairy, so really no issues so far. So we did get back another Necro Assassin, thanks to, of course, the Usher effect. Usually that's one of the okay cards to take advantage of, using Usher to either get things like Demon Lords or Necro Assassins, or just some other really good support card that can help you out. So, fairies, no real surprise there. I mean, they're going to want to take these out as best they can. They finally use an Evo. And we go for our Necro Assassin, 50-50. That was okay, that was actually pretty in our favour. We're going to take both these out either way, but that was definitely a nice thing to do. Fortunately, we didn't have quite enough shadows for Necro Assassins, since we didn't get a lot of our shadow support cards this turn. So we weren't able to really use anything too big for our advantage. But I did want to get something on the board, since I did expect them to start trying to flood again. Since it looks like they are playing an aggro variant of Forest for sure. So unfortunately they can take out all of these very easily. I decided to go for the Demon Eater play. I'm really just looking for draws now. I didn't want to waste my Demon Lord because they do have, of course, the double Bramble up, which is going to be a nightmare to deal with. So we are going to take a little bit of damage. They did get their Bramble back out. Not a good thing, but at least this time our Demon Lord can actually do some work. Even if it is only going to be a couple of things to kill off. Alright, so first off, killing off the 3 so we can take less damage on our Demon Lord in the long term. Hold on to my Evo because I don't really want to use it here. And they did pretty much just go all fairies, which is actually a good thing. Especially since I can go for Spartoi's Soldier and a Yerd. So we can actually start generating a little more shadows again, taking advantage of that. And go face for 7 damage, since we have set up a nice defensive play, which will probably stop them from straight up killing us. And now they are forced to, of course, deal with our board. And that does mean, of course, that concede was very straightforward. So this is another one of those kind of end of the meta decks that have really surprised me on how good it can be for what it looks like. It kind of initially looks like a jumbled mess if you don't play a lot of Shadow, but if you've messed around with a lot of Shadow cards, you can clearly see a pattern of course, Shadow Generation Necromancy, and of course, really strong last word effects that can really overwhelm your opponent and take advantage of board states to get damage in. So if you guys did enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time guys, see ya.